Welcome back, everybody. Say hi in the chat when you arrive or when the stream starts for you. Let's see. We're gonna have a fun day today. We're gonna take a poll real quick before we start. I'm gonna let you guys decide, okay? First, I wanna make sure we're streaming okay. Everybody can see, everybody can hear. But we're gonna take a little bit of a poll about whether we're gonna start with a pregame warm-up, pregame rant, pregame investigation into some more Twitter nonsense, or if we just dive right into today's topic. I'll let you guys decide. But a little background before you vote, okay? So, you know, there's this charge that, like, do you have to be so negative all the time? You know, do you have to be so negative? And it's like, man, I mean, I would love to be positive. The thing is, WordPress is not winning, okay? WordPress is losing. And there's a lot of reasons why it's currently losing. Now, does it have to lose? Does it have to keep losing? No, it does not. It doesn't have to keep losing. But it's losing for various reasons. And when I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, rise and shine, what an awesome day. I look outside, I see sunshine and warmth, and I'm like, this could be a great day. Then I pull up Twitter and you just see just dumbassery. And it's like, see, it was gonna be a great day. It was gonna be a good day. And it's always from the same types of people. And so I gotta put a little reply in, and then it starts some drama, which we'll talk about. But it's like, how do you be positive when you wake up every morning to essentially just straight gaslighting, just absolute emotional manipulation, mental nonsense, right? How can you be positive in that environment? It's not a positive environment. Doesn't feel very positive, you know? So we can take a look at that, yet another example before we dive into today's topic, or we can just dive into today's topic. It's up to you guys, okay? So you can put X in the chat if you want us to take a little pregame over to X, or you can put topic in the chat. So you can do X, or you can do topic. We'll let the votes roll in, and then we'll do what the votes say. Okay. But yeah, I say I have to stay on X because I have to be involved with what is going on in the ecosystem at large. Because guys, you got to remember, like, I rely on this ecosystem. You guys rely on this ecosystem, all the agencies, all the freelancers. I can also remind people that WordPress has gotten to the level that it is at because of us, because of the agencies, because of the freelancers, because of the third-party developers. This is why WordPress got successful. This is why WordPress is the dominant platform. It's not because of WordPress. It's not because of whatever Matt and Automatic are doing. They literally wake up every day and they try to figure out how to best undermine all the progress that we have made. That's essentially, it seems like, what they do, right? So we need this thing to win. We need it to win. And there's a lot of people committed to seeing WordPress lose. And it's hard to be positive when that's happening. Like, we should not be positive. I don't think we should be positive about that, because there are businesses and livelihoods on the line, and these people are not serious people. Okay. And it's, you know, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And again, it's like they want you to be positive, but they don't give you anything to be positive about. In fact, they do the opposite. They literally wake up every morning, it seems, and they write some shit designed to just make you go, what? What even, do we even live in the same universe as each other? Like, what is the reality that you view? And because clearly it's not the one that I view, right? Okay, well, a lot of people said X. A lot of people said X, so we'll go take a look. Now, this is not even a prominent person. I mean, it was a prominent person at the end of last week, okay? It was a very prominent person at the end of last week, but it goes along the exact same lines, right? But again, it's like, what universe do we live in? We are on different rocks or something. Like what's happening, right? So I don't even know this person. I don't care to know this person. She already blocked me because none of them they're all intellectually fragile, first of all. And this is the big problem that I have with it. They all have an attitude of, I want to post my opinions on the internet, and you can agree if you want, but if you disagree, I don't really want to hear from you. If you disagree, you're just a negative person. If you disagree, you're just they just start name calling, right? So they want to put their ideas, their propaganda, their nonsense out onto the internet for everybody to see, but you're not allowed to respond to it unless you agree with them. If you disagree with them, you're a bad person. I mean, this is literally it's like they go to like moral judgment, okay? And that's, first of all, I mean, that's just such intellectual fragility that I can't stand it. But she says this, I mean, you could all read it on the WordPress page builders trained an entire generation to fight the platform instead of working with it. What? So the platform, I mean, two angles to this. And you can see, I think you should see why, this is just why I called it dumbassery. It's like, what? Like, okay, how out of touch do you have to be to write this on the internet? Number one, if a platform doesn't give you the tools you need to do your job, the platform, in my opinion, is fighting you. Okay? Like, and so we have to build on top of the platform to get the tools that we need to do our job efficiently and with a good experience. But that's beside the point. Should we not remember for just a second here that this is WordPress, the open source project that is designed to be built on top of? And so she's saying, oh, well, by you building on top of this platform that's designed to be built on top of, you are fighting the platform. What? Guys, this is nonsensical. It's completely nonsensical. So first I just read comments. What are we saying? Okay, we got Adam Warner, right? Doesn't disagree. However, I do think the advantage of page builders is help. It seems like you're disagreeing, Adam. I don't know. Okay, this is what they want everybody to do, though. You're allowed to comment if you're like, I don't disagree, but okay, and then say some side tangent thing. Because if you fully disagree, they don't like you. They do not like you. They don't want to hear from people that actually disagree. Let's keep going. So Daniel, chimes in. I think it's the other way around. Okay. And he makes a good point. Matt ignored and scolded people for asking what the community needed. So the free market did its thing to fill the gap. Made a point to say we still have no responsive controls in WordPress core, by the way. And she says you can change that. That's what I do with Groundworks core plugin. I added some breakpoint support for certain WordPress core blocks. That's the beauty of Gutenberg, is that you can extend it to add what's missing. Or, you know what you can also do? You can build an entire proper, appropriate, fully featured development environment on top of it. Because at the end of the day, yes, you can extend Gutenberg, and what are you left with? Gutenberg. The problem with Gutenberg is not its lack of features. The problem with Gutenberg is that it's a glorified Microsoft Word editor, like literally it's like Google Drive almost. Okay, that they want to turn into a page builder. It's never going to be that. It has. So she's like, if you don't like Gutenberg, you could just add all the things that Gutenberg is missing, still have the bad Gutenberg UX, and then do what you need to do. Why? One, why should I have to do that? Two, why would I ever do that? Okay, why would I ever do that? Okay, he says, notice. So again, he's got to say, because it's just a dumb point. This is a dumb counter argument. This is like, I don't like to insult people. Like, you're insulting me. Okay, like you're insulting my intelligence by writing these things. This is not, anybody with any semblance of intelligence can see right through this. It's just nonsense propaganda. That's all it is. So notice that he has to, again, reply because nothing she said made any sense. So he has to reply, and then where is she? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Why do you think they exist? Asking about page builders from Alex. Because let's read this slowly together. Because it was a very large shift from the previous structure and a very heavy lifting. The undertaking was probably a lot more than anticipated, but it was needed. I'm sorry. Did you just get a fishing pole and fucking throw it in the dictionary and reel some shit up and just slap it together? I don't even know how to read this. I don't know how to read this. I don't even know what this is saying or trying to say. What point was this trying to make? This is like, how do you be positive? What are we even talking about right now? So I commented, and you completely didn't answer the question that was asked. Where's she at? Nowhere. It's almost like NPC level. It's NPC level. The script wasn't finished. Well, you try to interact with the NPC character, and they don't have anything else to say because nobody thought the script was going to go past layer 2. They thought you were just going to hear what they had to say and be like, oh yeah, okay. All right, well, I'm going to go keep being positive now. But like, there's no more script. They don't have anything else. Ali, facts. Page builders made people think WordPress is the problem when the real issue was stacking 14 plugins to do what Gutenberg does natively. Holy What? What Gutenberg does natively? Gutenberg doesn't do anything natively. What are you talking about? There's no breakpoints. There's no classes. There's no nothing. Nothing anybody needs is not there. So page builders made this is the gaslighting I'm talking about. This is CIA level gaslighting. We're in fucking MK Ultra right now, okay? Page builders made people think that WordPress is the problem. Guys, WordPress is not the problem. That WP admin you see when you log in, that's not the problem. That 2009 UI, that's not the problem. The block editor, when you go in there and can't build a single thing in scalable, responsive, maintainable fashion, that's not the problem, guys. That's not you just think that's the problem because you've used page builders that actually have these features. And so you've experienced what a real development environment looks like. And that's the only reason you think that's WordPress is the problem is because of that. Guys. This is fucking MK Ultra level gaslighting. What universe do we both live in? Oh my God, dude, I'm not screen sharing. You got to see. Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go back up. This was the original post. I totally thought I hit the button. I hit the button. I guess I didn't press it hard enough. Okay, we're on track now. And I did zoom in so you guys can see because I we've done that in the past where it's like too little to read. But I got the zoom in part done. Okay, here you go. All right, so this was the original. Okay, WordPress page builders trained an entire generation to fight the platform instead of working with it. Okay, that one's kind of irrelevant discussion here. Here was Daniel's reply. Here was Alex's. Why do you think they exist? Because it was a very large, guys, hold on. Why do you think page builders exist? Well, it was a very large shift from the previous structure and a very heavy lifting. The undertaking was probably a lot more than anticipated, but it was needed. Okay. All right. Ali, facts. Here's the MK. This is this dude. What are you, CIA, Ali? Are you CIA? What are we doing? Facts. Page builders made people think WordPress is the problem when the real issue is stacking 14 plugins to do what Gutenberg does natively. Okay, here's somebody disagreeing. Without page builders, WordPress wouldn't be anywhere near as popular today. They carried WP hard. Okay, let's see what we have to say about this. Page builders helped some people make websites without coding or light coding, true. But I don't think that's why WordPress is as popular today. It was ACF. Okay, all right, okay. ACF's flexible fields and repeaters made WordPress a real CMS for developers. Well, look, yeah, you can't have a CMS without custom post types and custom fields, okay? But even with ACF, even with custom fields and custom post types, you can't do anything in Gutenberg. You can't do anything in Gutenberg without building custom blocks, which is no longer development in Gutenberg, by the way. It's just development for Gutenberg. Page builders made layouts easier. ACF made WordPress powerful. Even those editors back then couldn't do it without ACF. Okay. But this is a red herring. This is a classic red herring. Well, hold on. We were talking about page builder because page builders, guys, page builders didn't add CPTs. Page builders didn't add custom fields. But page builders are literally the reason why WordPress is so popular. I don't know if you know this. Elementor drives a ginormous percentage of the user base. Ginormous. Like they're more prominent. More people in the world, I think, marketing and advertising wise, like if they see ads, they know Elementor more than WordPress. Like Elementor actually, people go to use Elementor. They use WordPress because they saw Elementor and they just have to use it by default because Elementor is built for WordPress. But like that's how strong the Elementor brand is. WordPress would be so lost without third-party page builder developers putting these features, that everything that WordPress is missing being put into the hands of users. And we're out here just talking about ACF. Sure, make custom post types and custom fields native. You still can't do jack shit in Gutenberg, and that's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about. Let's not talk about custom fields and custom post types. It's not even Gutenberg. It has nothing to do with it. No, they just work around the parts that didn't work. I still prefer the less is more approach. I don't even know, what point she's trying to make. She said page builders help some people make websites without coding. That's true. But the whole philosophy of Gutenberg is no code. And you can't do anything. Because she gets into a territory here where she starts talking about how people need to learn coding again. But she's a proponent of Gutenberg, which is the ultimate no-code platform. It's getting better but taking time. Bricks and Etch make it work great with deeper integrations. I hear you and I agree, but you can help making things move faster by contributing. We are contributing. This is the second layer of gaslighting, is that, guys, did you know the only way to contribute is to open PRs in the WordPress GitHub and to be a slave for Matt? Like, you can develop the most ingenious product for WordPress that helps an untold amount of people, and that's not contributing, guys. You haven't contributed yet. Because you didn't contribute the way they want you to contribute. This is insane. What an insult. Absolutely insulting to every third-party developer who decided, you know what, I'm going to build some really awesome stuff for WordPress, and simply because they decided to sell it, they're not contributors. They're not doing anything to contribute. Meanwhile, Elementor, like I said, brings in untold numbers of users, and they're not a contributor because They didn't do it through GitHub and they didn't do it for free as Matt's slave, right? That's such an insulting, like every part of this ecosystem, all these third-party products make WordPress great. They make WordPress what it is today because they put capabilities in users' hands that did not exist before. That is a form of contribution. It is a very, very valuable form of contribution. And they get online every day and they tell us that we haven't contributed. That is insanely insulting. And they want you, be positive, be positive. Let me get online and insult you daily and gaslight you daily. And I want you to be a super positive person every day. Like, insanity. Don't blame the builder, blame Gutenberg. Not about blaming anyone. It's about where we invest effort, not about blaming anyone. Okay, let's revisit. You're fucking blaming the entire page building industry only to then later, this is what I'm talking about, I can't stand this shit, come down here and be like, I'm not really blaming anybody. This is not really about blaming anybody. It's about where we invest effort going forward. WordPress is its community of contributors. But remember, you're only a real contributor, right? See the slyness in this statement? WordPress is a community of its contributors. Well, how warm and fucking fuzzy. How warm and fuzzy. Until you realize she doesn't consider you a contributor unless you've contributed down a certain pathway for free, right? I don't know. She probably considers her a contributor selling her block system because it's native, Kevin, because it's for Gutenberg, Kevin. I'm not fighting the platform. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. She says it right here. We can choose to build with the platform instead of parallel to it. Why? I'm sorry. I didn't know that when they said this is an open source platform that you can build on top of, that there was some sort of rule book in place, that there was some sort of official, these contributions are okay and these aren't. I thought it was an open source platform designed to be built on top of. I chose Gutenberg. You too can help shape its future if you prefer a different direction. That's false. That's false. That's a lie. So now we've done the gaslighting thing. We've done the propaganda thing. Now we'll just do the lying thing. You can't shape Gutenberg. You can with third-party tools, right? But those aren't real contributions, remember? Real contributions, I mean, again, there are tickets. There is work that has been done on APIs for WordPress and the block editor and all these different layers of things. The person did free work for years on end, and it is not in core yet and may never be in core. It's literal, like you're just lighting hours of your time on fire. There is no guarantee that improvements that you develop will ever get into core. So this idea that you too can help shape its future if you prefer a different direction. No, I'm sorry. I don't do speculative work, okay? Which is why I like to control a third-party product where I can make the actual decisions about how the experience unfolds. And then large percentages of the ecosystem go, I really like that. And they go, wow, that fills a lot of gaps that this native platform over here are not filling for me. Thank you, sir. And I go, well, let me remind you, that's not really a contribution. So don't thank me. Don't thank me. I'm working against the platform, actually. I'm not doing much for it. I'm just working against it. This is how they want you to think in your head. Like, you just feel that way. Feel that way. Let's keep going. This is a very interesting take. If users find they can't achieve what they want, it stands to reason that it's an issue with the platform's solution. If users find they can't achieve what they want, it stands to reason that's an issue with the platform's solution. Exactly, she says. Exactly. And when the solution requires users to learn an entirely separate system that fights the platform's direction, we've created a dependency problem disguised as empowerment. I feel like that is straight out of ChatGPT. I don't know. Because let's break this down. And when the solution requires users to learn an entirely separate system. Okay, let's just take that part right there. So you know that I've made the argument many times that you should not go to a proprietary platform. Elementor is a proprietary platform. Divi, Beaver, Breakdance, they're all proprietary platforms that you're not learning the language of web design. You are learning the proprietary language of that platform. It's disempowering and it's fundamentally restrictive. On top of all the other problems with it, like they suck at scalability and maintainability and clean code and accessibility. Like it's just a laundry list of problems. She's defending the block editor. The block editor is literally an entirely separate system that you have to learn. It is not the language of web design. So she's like, well, this is her argument. Like, well, this one's native, so it's okay. Those suck because they're not native. They both are proprietary, and they both have their own proprietary learning curve. And they both are fundamentally disempowering. But this one's okay because Matt built it. And those suck because somebody not named Matt built it. And if you use those, you're fighting against the platform. If you use this one, you're fighting, you're with the platform. Even though you're not able to do the things you need to do, at least you're with the platform. Can't you cash that at the bank? Like I walk in to pay my mortgage and I'm like, well, I wasn't able to get any work done this month because the thing I'm using is a bit limited, but I am working with the platform. Does that help? I don't know. Apparently she thinks it does. How about this genius? CMS on top of a CMS. Exactly right. What? Guys. Okay, Elementor is not a CMS. Divi is not a CMS. Beaver is not a CMS. These are not, if you use a page builder, that's not a CMS on top of a CMS. But Nagash goes, CMS on top of a CMS, randomly. She goes, exactly right. What universe are we in? None of this computes. Why do you feel so? Why do you feel this way about page builders? Because empowerment beats dependency. Holy smokes. What's empowering about Gutenberg exactly? What's empowering about Gutenberg? And how is Gutenberg not a dependency? You want to build a website in Gutenberg. You fire up native Gutenberg. You realize, this is not going to get the job done. By the way, this is a it's a no-code platform, literally as close to no-code as you can possibly get. Remember the entire philosophy of Gutenberg is anybody off the street, Kevin's mother should be able to fire up WordPress and build a website. And we made Gutenberg to facilitate this. You don't need to know anything. You just come in, you use Gutenberg, you build your site, you're happy, you're part of the marketing narrative. Look at you, all smiles, okay? Your Bunko website's published and live. You feel good about it. You're so empowered. That's how they market Gutenberg. But the reality is you get into Gutenberg and go, I can't do this or this or this or this. It doesn't even have responsive controls. And they say, no problem. It was designed for you to go build custom blocks for those things. What? So I have a no-code platform that doesn't let me do hardly anything. And then any layer of complexity that I need, I have to build custom blocks, which means now I have to leave WordPress. I have to fire up VS Code. I have to know React, PHP, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. I've got to know 5 fucking languages to do anything that resembles advanced development in this platform. And that's beginner friendly. That's for everybody, Kevin. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. Okay. This is the absolute just straight up propaganda, gaslighting nonsense that I have to be subjected to this on a daily basis. While the platform is losing, mind you. Now, let's get this straight. If I'm playing for a sports team and I don't like how the coach is coaching and I don't like how the players are playing, but we're winning every fucking game, I guess I got to keep my mouth shut, don't I? Because results are results. Okay, maybe it's not the way I would do things, but we're about to play for a championship. Okay, so how critical can I possibly be? I don't really have a leg to stand on, do I? Now, if I come to a sports team and we're fucking 0 for 12, and I'm like, well, coach not coaching, players aren't playing, maybe somebody should speak up around here. You know, maybe somebody should say something. Maybe we don't need a whole bunch of positivity. You know, they're all kumbaya-ing every time, right? Should I just join in on the kumbaya while we all sink? Right? Remember, there are businesses on the line. There are people's livelihoods on the line. We're just all supposed to be kumbaya, super positive while the Titanic goes underwater, right? Okay, I don't think so. I don't think so. If we're winning, I'll shut up. We're not winning. We're not winning. So we can't just run around with the propaganda campaign and the gaslighting and the nonsense and not be challenged. And once again, remember, I didn't wake up and make her write any of this nonsense. I didn't make her post this post right here. I didn't make her say that. She decided, hey, I'm going to put my nonsense opinion out into the world. And then when you challenge it, they're like, why are you so negative? I didn't want to hear from you. Okay. It's wild. It's wild. All right. Let's see. Because empowerment beats dependency. Page builders optimize for developer power, not client confidence. Did they really? Guys, holy smokes. I am told every single day of my life that people choose Elementor because it makes clients confident. And she said, and that it's not for developers. And she's literally saying they're optimized for developers, not clients. WordPress chose restraint over features. Harder path, but right for end users. Dude, this is masterful. Masterful gaslighting. WordPress chose restraint over features. Did they? Did they really? I don't even, my brain can't, it's not even computing this anymore. It's like, it's short-circuiting. Like, this is so stupid. It's short-circuiting. More broadly, all legacy sites have traded and commercial tools to fight the web platform. Now they're out of luck because these site builders are slow to use relative to the AI app builders. Yeah, those users, Okay. I love Derek's comment here is perfect. If it's easier to build your own system from scratch instead of extending the core, it's absolutely an issue with core. End of story. Where is she? Where are you? Where's your reply? Oh, the NPC script ran out. Didn't have a response for that one. Look, all these literally honest people, these people who are not brainwashed, they have not been captured by the WordPress MK Ultra project. The more we use the block editor, the more forced we are to go back to page builders. Where is she? Where's her counter argument? Nowhere. She doesn't have any. Doesn't have any. Because WordPress failed to deliver modern solutions that are intuitive and she doesn't want to talk to anybody that disagrees with her. She just wants to publish, and they're all, it's not just her. This is like the sycophant army of WordPress all act the exact same way. They all behave the exact same way. They lie, they gaslight, they push propaganda day in and day out. They want you to feel like you're the crazy one, you're the negative one, you're the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just decided I've had enough of this shit. I've had enough of it. I'm calling you out every single time because I'm not going to pretend like our businesses and our agencies and our freelancers and all aren't at stake here. We're not going to let you and your WordPress MK Ultra project just storm the internet and have the only say in town. It's wild though. Absolutely wild. Okay. Let's get on to today's topic. I just wanted to explain why, if you see that I'm not hyper positive all the time, it's because I have to be subject to that literally day in and day out. Day in and day, and more so because I get tagged in this shit all the time. It's sent to me. I get and I have to follow all these sycophant, because I got to know, you got to know what the enemy is thinking. You know what I'm saying? I got to know what direction they're trying to go in next and what kind of propaganda they're putting out into the world. And so I'm I'm drowning in that nonsense. And they don't debate you. They don't have any counter arguments. All they do is personally attack you. Okay. Oh, you're too negative. They want to comment about how you comment versus talking about the actual subject at hand. And it's mind numbing. It's mind numbing. And I start to think, I'm like, maybe WordPress just hasn't, they either have a brainwashing literal MK Ultra problem, or there's an IQ problem or something. I don't, they're either just completely brainwashed or they're just not that intelligent. I choose to go with there's somebody brainwashed them. I would rather not assume they're not intelligent. I just go with, well, they've certainly been captured somehow. This is a captured individual that is now speaking in WordPress NPC scripts. And so, I just choose to go with that. I choose to go with that. And by the way, it doesn't matter how cool, calm, and collected and intellectual and reasoned your replies are. I could go back to that thread, but I want you to notice the people who just kind of said a fact, right, and moved on with their life. Well, Kevin, just say a nice little fact and move on with your life. Guess what? Those people had no replies. Those people had no replies. So I learned, hey, if I come in and just blow them the fuck up, they can't ignore it. Now we see the biggest part of the comment. Now it brings in other eyeballs, brings in more attention. Maybe, and if I got to be the bad guy, I'll be the bad guy. I don't care. But no, I'm not gonna waste my time. That's like a contribution to the fucking WordPress GitHub. It's gonna go nowhere. You go open every PR you want. It's gonna go nowhere. It's gonna go nowhere. So yeah, you can be super nice and super respectful and just let me write a little counter argument, hit publish and send. Nobody's gonna see it. They're gonna ignore it. They're not gonna respond to it. Nobody's gonna see it, and you just wasted your time. Congratulations. So what I'd rather do is, no, let's just blow this whole thing up. How about we all see it? How about we all talk about it? How about that? Because this is absolute nonsense, and it actually harms people. It harms the platform. It harms the users of the platform. And it's just insulting. It's intellectually insulting. It's emotionally insulting. It's manipulative. It's all the things that we don't want. It is, if you like this word, a lot of people like this word in WordPress, that is toxic. That is toxic behavior. Okay, let's be clear. Facts, logic, and reason that disagree with toxicity, with manipulation, that's not toxic. That's never toxic. Coming in and blatantly lying, manipulating people, gaslighting people, literally just towing a narrative, that's toxic. That's toxic behavior. And then not responding, no counter arguments, no even attempts to reasonably debate. just want to go attack people personally and shut them down and dismiss them and silence them and block them, that's toxic behavior. That, if you want to find the toxicity in WordPress, it's right there. It's right there. Okay. Yep. This is literally what it is. They want a toxic positivity. They want everybody to just say, yes, you are right. Gutenberg is amazing. Yes, you are right. Gutenberg is amazing. Yes, you are right. If I did this, if I did that, if I showed up every time and did that, they would love me. They would fucking love me. Love me. But if you don't do that, you're the bad guy. You are the bad guy. All right, let's do this. We're going to talk about modern responsive development workflows. I would encourage you, this is all based on a blog article, and it is how to approach responsive web development in the modern era, 2025 and beyond. It's an entire mental model because especially now that I've talked about container queries a lot, I've introduced a container query workflow in Etch. I get probably half a dozen emails, messages, etc. every single week from people saying, hey, I want to get into the container query thing. I want to do it, but I'm confused. It's like, when do I use media queries? When do I use container queries? When do I use some of these other responsive techniques? You know, you've got this thing called auto grids. You've got variable grids. You've got like, there's a lot to choose from. There's a lot going on. And I thought we were building the Cloudflare error page today. Mark, it just wasn't, you know, it wasn't robust enough. I didn't think it wasn't gonna give us what we needed to demo our stuff today. Okay, so I would encourage you to read this article. The first opening part of the article is a little bit of the like rapid fire history of responsive development. We get into introducing what I call an escalation-based workflow, okay? Where you start from a default state and you escalate when escalation is needed, and you try to keep everything to a minimum, starting with what I call intrinsic responsiveness, moving to what we would call available space responsiveness, and then finally making our way to device responsiveness. Escalation 0, static content, is kind of 2 layers. It's like, we don't need to do anything here, and also don't break anything, okay? There are ways to break intrinsic responsiveness, and I've seen people do it over and over and over again. They break intrinsic responsiveness, and then they start doing breakpoint stuff to unbreak it. That's all, don't do that. Yeah, definitely don't do that. So read escalation 0. Then escalation 1 is intrinsic responsiveness. We're going to talk about all these things in this list right here, so we're all on the same page. Escalation 2 is container queries. We'll get there. Escalation 3 is media queries. We'll finally get there, and then we'll talk a little bit about mobile first versus desktop first, which is another kind of, do I do this? Do I do that? I get that question every single week, okay? So this is going to be a good, you know, we'll be able to fast forward people through the initial part. We can just link them to a timestamp, you know, if you want them to skip that part. But I think everybody should watch it because, you know, if those people are allowed to continue, you know, yelling from the rooftops, WordPress is going to die. It is absolutely, it's already dying. They cannot save it. Those people are just accelerating the death. We have to counter them. We have to overtake it. We have to push third-party tools that actually get the job done. Okay. So we're going to use this as a demo site. It just came from some Framer template library. Of course, it's Framer. And we're going to talk about how to think about this stuff. Let me get my pro mouse on here. Can I draw? Oh, look at that. Okay. So I'll be able to draw and kind of work through this a little bit. I've got a development environment open so we can build some of these things. Yeah, let's just, if you're ready to dive into it, let's get an LFG in the chat. And I'm just going to catch up on reading the chat here. Who is saying GB is amazing? All of them, buddy. All of them. They all say it's amazing. I do agree with this. Yep. Some people can't communicate outside their personal bubble. It's funny because I'm always told that I'm the one in a bubble. I'm the one in a bubble. Which for sure is projection. Okay, we seem to all be on the same page. I just rebuilt a site that was built with Framer. I tried to troubleshoot it a couple times and gave up. Oh, they're impossible to, if you want to know why clean code is important, one of the big reasons clean code is important is for debugging purposes. When something breaks, you need to be able to figure out why it's broken. And when the DOM is an absolute spaghetti disaster, it's impossible to figure out where the problem is, where the style is coming from, what's causing the problem, which wrapper is it? It's debugging time is insanely elevated in poorly coded websites, of which Framer, it's all of them. They're horrific. Okay, so here we have a homepage, and we're just gonna kind of scan this down, and we're gonna talk about the first level of responsiveness. Now, if we go back to the article, escalation 1 is intrinsic responsiveness, okay? So there's a technique called clamp functions. We're gonna talk about that first. A clamp function makes text scale from larger to smaller, and a good clamp function is based on the content width of the website. But as this starts to come in, you're gonna notice probably, depending on how this was developed, see how it's getting smaller, 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 and there's no jumps from one size to another, which tells me they use some sort of intrinsically responsive, scalable text. I don't even know, I haven't even looked at it yet. And I may not even find it because this is what I'm talking about. It's like horrific. It's just horrific to try to do this stuff. Padding, just, my gosh, dude. Oh, it's a calc. They're using some sort of calc function. Of course they are. Why use a clamp when you can use some obnoxious, ridiculous calc function? But anyway, they decided to go with calc to make theirs responsive. But this does not require breakpoints. You understand? Like there's no media queries. There's no container queries. Nothing is really deciding this. It is all based on math that conforms to the size of the device, okay? Which text should correspond to the size of the device. If your text, I've seen people try to map text sizes to the container, like, oh, it's a card, so it should be smaller because it's in a card. I mean, yeah, that makes sense, but also you should be changing the semantic tag when it's in a card. And then if every heading size is perfectly mapped to its box, you're gonna have a whole bunch of many, many, many different heading sizes. Like there's gonna be no consistency in your heading sizes. So we still need some design consistency, right? And if you're doing things based on calculations of the wrong thing, you're gonna get a lot of inconsistency. And then the same is true with spacing and on and on and on. So the best approach really is clamp functions. How are those clamp functions built? Well, they need to be, it's a very, very complicated formula that involves slopes and all this other stuff to calculate the middle value, which you can't do manually. Nobody can do that math on their own, nor do they want to. So you typically use clamp generators, right? You don't want to use clamp generators though, because then you can't easily change the sizes around. This is the value of automatic CSS. This is why, one of the reasons automatic CSS is so insanely valuable, that I can throw an H1 on my page and it will scale, right? See, that text is scaling. And I can also open this up and I can go, I'm gonna pull this, unpin it and pull this out so we can see it very easily. I can go to typography, and with my headings, I can choose a base size and a mobile base size, a desktop ratio, which will make all of my sizes, H1 through H6, scaled apart equally on a mathematical scale. I can set a mobile ratio and a desktop ratio. I can change this anytime I want. I can override the individual sizes with custom values anytime I want. It will stay with the clamp functions. The slopes will all get recalculated, yada, 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 yada. And I never have to go regenerate anything. This is automatically regenerative, okay? So it saves a tremendous amount of time. This takes care of your typography, it takes care of your spacing, it takes care of all of the general default stuff. Same with line height, okay? If we go to this article, calculated line height. There is a problem with line height. Like you use 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, okay? That as the text gets bigger, you need to change the line height value. Otherwise, your line height is very inconsistent. Well, turns out there's a formula based on the X height of the font that is not perfect, but it is very, very consistent. So consistent that rarely do you even have to tweak it all that much. You set it for your headings, you set it a little bit differently for your text, and you're pretty much good to go, okay? So that is also handled by default in automatic CSS, right? So your line height, you should not be using breakpoint line height changes. I've seen people change line height at breakpoints. I've seen people obviously set font sizes at breakpoints. So they'll set an H1 size and then they'll go to a breakpoint. They'll set a new H1 size. They'll go to a breakpoint. They'll set a new H1 size. And then if anything needs to change, my Lord, they're just changing it all again. They got to go back manually through every single breakpoint and remember how all of this is set up. And their sizes are unrelated to their other sizes. And if they want them to be related, they're manually relating them. Oh my God, what a disaster. We haven't even gotten to building anything and people are creating disasters, okay? Because they're not following intrinsic responsive principles. Clamp functions, automatically calculated clamp functions, calculated line heights. Then we get into min and max functions. Min and max functions essentially scale something and they set an effective minimum or an effective maximum. And this is a, for dyslexics like me, but even for anybody, this is, very confusing because the min function sets an effective maximum and the max function sets an effective minimum. And the reason that is because when you use a min function, and I'll give you an example of a min function right here, okay? Let's just put an image in here and I'll just say my image, right? And I wanted to, I already did that. Okay, great. So let's say I wanted to do like max inline size. And I did we want to do inline size of 100% or something like that. Okay. So max inline size is 800 pixels. You can see if I didn't have that on there, right? It wouldn't be, it would go full width. Okay. So what a min function looks like is you set and it's usually one relative value and one static value. Okay. So I might do like 15, VW. And then I might do 600 pixels, okay? The minimum is going to choose the smaller of the two values. That's what a min function does. It looks at these two values. This one obviously calculates to something, and it chooses the minimum. The minimum wins, which essentially sets a max. See how the image is not getting bigger than 15 VW? Because 15 VW is the min, and the min function chooses the min. Okay, if I change this to max, now it's going to choose one of these. I don't know which one still wins. Okay, 25, yeah. So 600 pixels is winning. That makes sense. So 600 pixels because now the maximum value is being chosen. Okay, so this effectively means that this is going to be at minimum 600 pixels. Okay, so a little confusing, but you get used to it after a while. Let me go back to the article. So there's min and max functions. But notice that if I need to scale this image somehow related to these values, I can do that without any media queries. Now, could I do it with media queries? Yes. But if it can be done without media queries, maybe you should do it without media queries. Because remember, this will take care of every breakpoint. A media query takes care of one breakpoint. Do you want to take care of all of them in one directive, or do you want to take care of one of them in one directive, right? Much more efficient to just take care of all of them, and it will just fluidly scale, okay? So that's min and max functions. Let's go back here. Flex wrap, okay? Let's see if we can demo this real quick. So I'm just going to have a bunch of these in here. Let's do... let's say, get this text out of here, get that out of here. Okay, let's just do this. Let's do that. Okay. And I'm going to go, actually, let's just do text by itself. Okay. This is my text. All right. If I make that a span, maybe they'll live next to each other. Now it's because it's, okay. So let's go here, my container. Let's take any styling off of there. And let's do flex row, okay? Okay, See how the text is being forced to a second line, but the layout is not breaking to a second line. This is because flex row by default does not wrap. It squishes. It just crams things in. Like you said, make a row, I'm making a row, okay? Doesn't matter how many things you put in here, we're still making a row. And I'll just squish your stuff until you say to not squish it anymore, right? So I've seen people do this, and then they go to a breakpoint and they set something different, or they set a column, or they do whatever, okay? And this is obviously just a very generic, dumb layout, but you can just do flex wrap if you just want these things to make new lines and fit like normal and just support an unlimited number of them. You could just let the flex row wrap. And you don't need any breakpoints, because as this gets smaller, it's just gonna keep wrapping to more and more and more lines, right? That's a very simple example, but literally I've seen people go introduce breakpoints for this, for whatever reason. Or they go to a breakpoint and that's when they want the thing to start wrapping, when that's really not even necessary in the first place. There's a lot of stuff you can do with flex where you just don't need breakpoints to accomplish what the person's trying to accomplish. You gotta be careful. And that kind of goes into like, just don't break it in the first place, you know? Or leverage the features to their full extent. But then we have autofill, auto-fit, min-max grid layouts, okay? These auto grids, very powerful. We can do this again with images. And these are SVG, so let me put in like real images here. Let's just do this truck, okay? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't really care how many there are. I'm gonna do a static grid, right? So let's do grid of 3. Grid of 3. So there's a 3-column grid, right? Now that's a static 3-column grid, which means that's not gonna be responsive. It's just our images are gonna get smaller, but it's not gonna stack. It's not gonna do anything fancy, right? You would have to use breakpoints to manage this responsively. But we do have something called auto grid, okay? And now auto grid is going to start stacking automatically. There are no breakpoints in here. This is all math. And it's also using auto fit, auto fill, okay? We can change to auto fit, auto fill, okay? We'll have a slightly different behavior, okay? But these two things, if this is the kind of effect you want, we're gonna talk about why you might not want this. If this is the effect you want, handles your grid, no breakpoints. Intrinsically responsive grid, which by the way, you can control the column number. See, I still have control over this based on how this is engineered, all right? I can also control the aggressiveness of how soon does it actually stack? How long does it try to hold on and let items get smaller before it stacks, right? That's what this aggressiveness does, okay? Will it stack sooner? Look how soon it's stacking now. Look how soon it's stacking, okay? I can control that with this aggressiveness number. But this is automatically, intrinsically responsive. No breakpoints, no nothing. What about variable grid? Let's take that out. Let's do variable grid. Okay, very, very similar. Still gonna auto stack. Difference is I set an actual value, a minimum value that I want those items to ever be. And when they get to their minimum, they will start stacking. Very similar, kind of, it's almost a container query effect, if you will, okay? Without container queries, without media queries, there's no media query in here. Okay, it's automatically, intrinsically responsive. This is hyper efficient. Now, both of these have problems, okay? You see one problem right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, when there's 6, if I don't want these open spaces right here, I have to choose an exact amount of items, right? I can do that with auto grid. Okay, with auto grid, I can come in here and I can say 6. If there's available space to have 6, but look what happens when I say 6 column. I'm sorry, 3. Okay, so I can have my 3. which is two rows of 3 is 6 items. But watch, maybe we'll see a problem here. Okay. Depends on the, okay, in this particular grid, we do not. We do not. What if there were 5 items? Okay. All right. Or 4 items. Sometimes you'll get to 3. Let's try 4. See if we make it there. There you go, right there. So at some point, you might see some orphans. That's an orphan. That's it has no siblings. Okay. And this is undesirable, obviously, in many cases. In some cases, it's not. In some cases, this is totally fine. That's how the grid is supposed to behave. Let's just move on with our life. In some cases, you're like, I don't really want that to happen. Do not really want that to happen. So in that case, obviously, auto grid is not your solution. Not what you need. Okay, you're going to have to escalate. But if that's okay with me, then I'll use this because this is escalation layer 1. I want as much stuff as possible to just be intrinsically responsive. If I don't have to put a media query, if I don't have to put a container query, I will not put a media query. I will not put a container query. I will find another way to make it responsive. Does that make sense? Okay? Does that make sense? Before we move on to escalation layer 2. We can also talk about columns. Okay? So columns would be another example here. Okay? So let's do, we're going to need a bunch of paragraphs. Okay? Let's do website ipsum.com. Okay. And what we can do with, let's do grok and let's say, hey, give me the paragraph HTML for this. Just so I can easily paste it real quick. What is it doing? Dude, I swear, LLMs are just getting absolutely dumb. What is happening right here? Why are they so dumb now? Why is there a broken tag? They can't even do basic stuff anymore. Has anybody noticed that? I put this online the other day. I was like, I swear they're getting dumber. They're getting really dumb. Okay. So let's paste that in. So I got my paragraphs in here and I'm just going to say columns. Okay. And I get my columns and I can choose how many there are, right? And they're automatically responsive. Look at that. So it goes 2 down to 1. I can set my minimum width right here. You know, how long do I want these to hold on before they stack? And the benefit of columns is that you notice the text seamlessly flows from one column to another, whether I have 2 or 3. I can't get 4 because there's not enough text, okay? But columns are great. A lot of people don't know about columns. I have seen people make a box for each of these paragraphs and put them in static columns. I mean, if that's you, I'm sorry. I don't, it's not. Everybody's probably done it once. Okay, let's be honest. But it's, man, what a life you don't want to, you don't want to live that life. You feel sorry for that person. You're like, man, that's not a good situation you're going to be in. Okay. Then they change the amount of text in one paragraph and it's too big and they got to take it and they got to like start manually have you ever seen people do this? Manually redistributing text from one block to another? I've seen this happen. I've seen this in Elementor videos and Divi videos, and I've seen this happen in real life, guys. I'm not making stuff up here, okay? But notice this is no breakpoints, no media query, no container queries, no nonsense, just intrinsically responsive behavior, which remember, my text is scaling down to a nice mobile size because it's also intrinsically responsive. My padding, look at this gutter. Look at this gutter over here, okay? This side right here, that is intrinsically scaling down. Look how the gutter is now. Tiny little gutter on mobile. Why? Automatic CSS. Spacing. Section spacing. Gutter starts at 80, scales to 16. Fluidly responsive. No breakpoints, no media queries, no shenanigans. The section spacing right here. Scaling. Look, just a little bit now. Don't need a lot now. Scale it down. No breakpoints, no container queries, no shenanigans. As much as possible. Layer 1, can you make it intrinsically responsive? That's your objective. Now, if you cannot, if there's a situation where you cannot, then now you need to escalate. And what do we escalate to first? We escalate to container queries as our first look. Like, hey, should this be a container query? Because if you start with media, you're going to get it wrong a lot. If you start with container, you have the ability to reject or accept. Okay? We want to go container query first because container query is the most intelligent and accurate and sensical way to make something responsive. Okay? With like individual directives. Media queries are kind of dumb. So we want to save those for last. Like, hey, let's do the smart thing first. If the smart thing doesn't make sense or we don't need it, then we'll do the dumb thing. That's kind of how the escalation layers work, right? Okay, so let's take a look at this design right here. Let me get out of responsive mode. So we have a section. Now this is very important to start to put different concepts together. We have this section right here. And then you can ignore the header. There's a header inside, or it's technically outside. All right, it's a sibling. But that's our box, right? We have our section. That section goes to the edges of the screen. Well, it should. Sorry, it's framer site, so it might not, but it should. Let's see if we can demo that. Yeah, okay. So if I put a background color on this, right? There you see it. The red goes to the edges of the screen. This section is all one piece, okay? Let's refresh this. Now, inside of that, we have this intro. This is what I would call a section intro. We have this media that's going on here, okay? And then you might have this slider inside of that section as well. The slider could be placed outside of the section. I don't think it really matters either way, okay? We need to be able to think of these things not just as a hero section. Sometimes you can think of the thing just as a hero section. Sometimes you need to look at the individual parts of it and be like, okay, there's a little bit more going on here. This section intro right here, here's another section intro. Section intros you gotta be careful of because they show up lots and lots of times on a website, okay? Here's another one right here. The one in the hero is objectively different. It doesn't have this little pill thing, okay? But it's very, very, very similar, especially because on mobile, it centers itself like that. And that looks like all the others. Like if we go down, see that? These don't have a lead and they have a pill. So there's just some variations of it, but they're all section introductions. So what I would say is its responsiveness. And by the way, this is a separate, I would say now we're thinking component architecture. That's a component. We're going to create a section intro component, and we are going to build it and design it to be able to live anywhere. And there is your answer right there to container queries versus media queries. If I am developing something that needs to be able to live anywhere and adapt to wherever I put it, that is a container query situation 1000% of the time. You cannot use media queries in that scenario. They will not work. They won't do what you want them to do, okay? So we know this is container queries. That's why we start with container queries. There's a container query situation. Now we have this thing. Obviously, something has to happen here. I'm imagining, right? What happens to this thing? Okay, so we lose badges. And we just get down to the device, ultimately. That's all we're left with. But see, at some point, these badges go away. Okay? Now, question is, are we ever going to put this thing into some other, are we ever going to put this thing in a sidebar? Are we ever going to put this thing in a column of a footer? Where are we going to use this thing? And if you look at the design, you look at the project and you say, oh, well, that thing only ever appears once and it only ever lives in this hero on the homepage. then making these badges disappear and scaling this all down, I can do that based on media queries. Why would I not use container queries for this? I mean, I could. You could use container queries. But look, it's part of a hero section, which is edge to edge, and the hero section is the only thing that is ever going to influence its available space. We're not putting this anywhere else, and it's in a hero section that goes edge to edge. We can just use media queries. It's fine. You can get away with media queries here. Media queries are a little more efficient than container queries. Container queries require additional calculation of the browser. It's not really about that. There's an extra step involved in getting a container query set up. There's a wrapper situation that you have to be aware of for container queries to work. They are a little bit more complex. So if I'm in a situation where I say, I just don't need, like a container query would be overkill, Kevin. Good, then use a media query. Perfect. But you went through the escalation workflow. If you decided I can't make it intrinsically responsive, okay? What's the next escalation layer? Container query. Well, Kevin, this is one, it would be over-engineering to use container queries here. Great. Escalate to the next one, media queries. Done deal. We use media queries for it. Now, what about this slider right here? Oh boy. Well, depending on what has to happen, I would argue you could probably make that intrinsically responsive. This is probably an intrinsically responsive situation. Now, if it's not for whatever reason, I think 100% it goes to container queries, because I could see myself dropping this into a narrower container of some sort and still wanting it to work and not break. I would want to move that around. Maybe it's contained right now, but I want it to be full width at some point. And if that requires some sort of extra directive, I'm going to do that with container queries, not media queries, because I want this thing to be flexible and be able to live anywhere. See, I'm identifying the different parts of the site and going, what makes sense? Here's my escalation workflow. What makes the most sense? Now I get down here. I see these cards. These are stacked. These are inline. They're not stacked. That's an obvious container query situation. Obvious container query situation. But they're also in a grid. Is that grid ever going to be put in a smaller container? Now we get into the realm of like, I don't really know, Kevin. I'm not really sure. Then you make a decision. Do I want to build this to be as robust as possible? And maybe we don't ever need that robustness. Or do I want to just make it kind of dumb and make it work and move on with my life? And that is probably a personal decision, honestly. That's a personal decision. Now, hopefully you're using tools that make these things easier for yourself. And I'll start to demonstrate this as we build some of this stuff out on this demo. And you're free to ask questions. You can hashtag Q. I don't think we'll demo anything else. I don't request any specific demos. We'll just do this. We're already, we ranted a while. We're already limited on time a little bit, okay? But yeah, you're free to ask questions. We'll get to them. I'm gonna start building some of this stuff. We'll start with these cards, and then I want to move to maybe the hero with this intro situation. But these cards are going to be a clear example of what we're talking about. Okay. Let me go look at the chat real quick before we start. Yeah. See, some people will. Yeah. Okay. See. I think we mentioned some of these things. People have done them. Okay, so yeah, I've done this because of Divi. Hey, isn't that the argument I've made in the past? Like a lot of these Fisher Price builders, they encourage bad practices. In almost every website, the content is the hero is present everywhere else, so it makes sense to make the intro its own component. Yep. Curious to see how all the fancy parallax and interest animation stuff will be handled with Etch. We're not big on animation and stuff. I'm sure we'll eventually have our own animation library. It's definitely not a top priority. But this is actually, you don't even need GSAP for this anymore. This is vanilla CSS. See that? I mean, it's not in Framer, but it could be. Vanilla CSS can absolutely handle that animation right there. And so we probably will have a bunch of shortcuts to doing that, recipes and so on and so forth. But let's go in and build this these cards. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this image. Let's go to new folder and let's go to, what is this called? Lunera. Okay, Lunera. Oh, look at these. Look at these nice, friendly image names. Okay. Analytics. And, oh, these are SVGs. Okay. Reports and budgeting. Oh, nope. Didn't want to open that in a new tab. Save image as budgeting. Save image as syncing and growth. Okay, good. So we'll come in, we'll make a section. We're going to call this features. We'll just call it features section. Okay, so features section, features section. We'll call this features list. Now, I call them lists now. I used to call them grids. I call them lists, especially because we're going to use container queries for this, because they are semantic lists. And when they compress and they stack their content, they don't look like a grid anymore, but they are still a list, aren't they? So I just call them features list now. And then I'm going to do a flex div that is a feature card. And I don't think I have feature card in here yet, do I? Feature? No. Okay, good. This is just some demo sandbox thing. I don't know what's been done or hasn't been done on here. So I'm going to group this content right here into a little group with the heading and text. All right, so we'll call that a content or body group or whatever. You know, you can call them whatever you want. But we'll do content, wrapper, and we'll do heading and text. And this is just going to be the description, card description, heading, content wrapper, all that is good to go. And then I'm going to do another flex div. You know, this is the image wrapper. You decide in these situations if this is, here's what I'm deciding right now. Is this semantically valuable or is it just pure decoration? And I would argue, you know, it's 50-50. Like, no, I would actually say it's probably not semantically valuable whatsoever. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense little graphics. So what you could do instead of having an image wrapper is you could just slap the SVG in here. These are all SVGs. Let's go upload them real quick. So let's go to downloads, Lunera, pop those in. Okay. And we're going to build a static one first. You know, obviously you would probably want to loop through these things. And then what you can do is aria hidden equals true, right? So you could say, hey, these are not, nobody needs to know these are here. Like, you know, accessibility wise, they don't really mean anything. Okay, so this is going to be card heading, and we're going to make this an H3, and then this is going to be our description. Let's just go ahead and right click. We've got our feature card. I want that to be the media? I don't know, image, icon, whatever you want to call it. Right click and create BEM classes. Okay. Perfect. So we've got our first feature card. Now I can also go to the card framework if I wanted to. I could add this to the targeting and it would inherit all of the card framework stuff. That's a little bit, you know, more advanced, takes us into ACSS land. We don't need to do that on this stream. We'll just do everything from scratch, right? So we'll do padding. I can still use card padding here. You can still use the stuff manually. There is a gradient background on there. Do we have linear gradient? Do we have gradient recipes yet? I don't think we do. I'm still baking our recipes. We have a lot of helpful ones, but I guess that one's not in there yet. So we'll do linear gradient and we'll do 2 bottom red blue. Okay. They're not hard to put in, right? And we're going to have shortcuts to all this stuff very soon. So I'm going to say neutral, ultra light. And neutral, ultra, that's not neutral, ultra light. What are we doing over here? This is neutral. Maybe I need to choose a new, oh, you know what? This is the new, yeah, this is a demo version of the OKLCH system. Probably, let's do base. Both of these are coming out. Oh, no. Yeah. Now that might be right. Let me look in here. Base, ultra, yeah, that would be, no, no, that's not. Oh, no. I'm looking at blue. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. I was looking at the blue, like that's not, base ultralight is, I think, working up there. We can do neutral. Okay. This would be white. There you go. So there's a little fine, light gray gradient kind of thing. And I got the direction backwards because, again, if it can be done backwards, I will do it backwards. Let's do a border of border. Okay. All right. And let's do a border radius of radius. Perfect. All right. Let's just look at what we've got on the front end. So there's our first little card right there. And border, I'm going to go border color is, what if I do black? Can I override that? I don't know if I can override that like that. Okay, let's do this. Well, I didn't type it correctly anyway. Let's just do 1 pixel. It's blending with my neutral ultra light because it just happens to be that way. Solid neutral light. There you go. Should be able to see. There we go. We can see all the border now. They just happen to be the exact same color. Okay. Great. Card heading. Let's put in some lorem ipsum. So let's do like lorem 20. Perfect. All right. And then we'll go font size of text X. No, just S. All right. Good stuff. Okay. Let me see if S is set up here. Text S. Bang, bang. Set the defaults back. Okay. All right. Let's make a couple. Boom, boom. Actually, hold on. Before we do that, article this and right click and convert to a list. So now I have my actual appropriate list. We can go features list. That'll get rid of our bullets, give us a class to work with. And now I can duplicate and I can duplicate. And let's just quickly make a 3-column grid. Okay. Grid 3, just to see cards. Just to see cards. Okay, there we go. One thing I'm noticing is this media probably needs to be forced to 100%. Oh, you know what? It's an SVG, and that is going to be a pain in the ass. Can we do it this way? Inline size 100%? No. It's not filling its entire... It may be how they designed it too. Wonder if I should put that in as an image. SVGs can be a pain in the ass sometimes. Let's just do it as an image and see if we can pull that in. Okay, that'll work. That'll work fine. Let's get rid of these two. Okay, let's duplicate this again. Bang, bang. Perfect. Okay, so we've got the start of our cards. What we're gonna do now is we're going to design the wide variation. There's obviously, you know, if you go back to the demo, you see this right here, okay? So if in fact, and we can actually make this, okay, I see what they did. They made it smaller, they centered it, whatever. I'm still not going to mess with it. We can do like 90% on here, and then we can do align self of center probably. Okay, great, fantastic. Let's delete these again and duplicate. Okay, so we're a little bit closer to what they have. I'm not trying to make it pixel perfect or anything. We have a wide variant that we need to do. Now, in the old days, here's how people would do it. In the old days, they would create a card modifier. Okay, so let's go back to BIM principles, block element modifier. This is literally where a modifier would come into play. You would create something like feature card wide. Okay, so it would look like this, feature card wide. And that is what you would assign the instructions to make it a wide layout, to kind of override what was the stacked layout and make it a wide layout. The problem with this is you got to manually do it. And when you move things from one place to another, not only do you have to manually do it, you have to know that's an option. Because if you don't know it's an option, how do you know, like if you don't know this class exists? And remember when you just add something like this, now with a component, you might see a switch or a style thing or something like that, which would indicate that that's a possibility. But in the days of just classes and CSS, nothing would indicate that that's even a possibility. You would have to go look it up or read, you know, what the developer documented or something like that, that is a possibility. Well, with container queries, we actually don't have to care. We don't have to care at all. So what we can do is we can just manage a wide layout. So we're not going to do this wide thing. I'm going to take the grid off of here now. And this is going to make this a wide card. And this illustrates why we need a wide, I mean, that clearly does not look very good. Like if I wanted to put this by itself into some bigger section, it would blow up. I mean, this is broken. This is unusable. You would never deploy this in this kind of situation, right? Does that mean it has to be that way? No. No, we can now design it with container queries to where it is able to handle this, okay? So let's take a look at how we want to approach that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to activate container queries, like activate container queries. So you have to know that in container queries, the thing you're doing has to measure itself against something. Well, with media queries, it measures the device, and it does that automatically. But with container queries, you have to declare the measurable container. What container are we going to use to measure this thing right here? And usually in container queries, it is the direct parent of the thing. The direct parent of the thing is what we're going to measure. And so we have a shortcut for doing that. We can right click this and say add has me. And this special has me selector will declare the direct parent as a measurable container. So we have activated, however you want to think about it or communicate it or say it, we have activated container queries here, okay? These are not any harder, by the way, than media queries. You just, if you know that one little caveat, like, oh, it's not going to work out of the box, I gotta declare a container, and I can use this has me selector to do it. Now we're doing media queries, essentially, okay? So what are we going to do? Well, we need to figure out, where does this not look good anymore? So I've already done the stacked variation. So, and by the way, it helps tremendously to have a dynamically responsive canvas that also happens to measure your items for you, okay? Whatever you've selected at the time. So I'm gonna go all the way down and be like, yeah, this looks good. Still looks good. I'm still okay with this. I'm still okay with this, actually. Now I'm getting into the land of I'm not liking what I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? Not really liking what I'm seeing anymore. But the question is there enough space to actually fit these two things side by side at this point? Don't know. Probably not. But now I'm going to start to say maybe there is. Now, do I know for sure? I have no idea. I have no idea. You got to start somewhere. And then you make adjustments. Okay? So this is 632. And we're going to see, like, the concept of like static breakpoint, like the totally dead in the gone are those days. Now, if you're OCD like me, you might round it to 630 or something. And what I want to do now is I want to insert a container query. Now, you would have to maybe know how to write the syntax. You would have to, if you don't have your thing measuring items for you, you would have to go measure it on the front end. That's annoying. Okay. But with Etch, you don't have to do any of that. You just right click and go add container query and it adds it. Oh, look at that. Add container, inline size, 630 pixels. Look, took the 630 from right here, injected it there, puts it in a to-rem function for you because container queries should be done in rems, not pixels, okay? To be fully accessible, you got to use rems here, but nobody likes rems. So we said, yeah, nobody likes rems. Let's just create a to-rem function. Let's just do the rem for them. So everything's done for you, essentially. You just kind of make the decisions and then what needs to happen, right? So I might say here, display of grid and grid template columns of grid. Actually, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I could do grid 2, right? You could do a grid 2 recipe, okay? Display grid and boom, look at this. That's just like a media query. That's just like a media query. Now, you decide, is 630, here, okay, that looks pretty good, right? Here, that's acceptable to me. It's not perfect. It's like, but if I made this lower, like what if we made this 600? Okay, I can live with that too. So like, I think I'm fine there. Now, obviously, what we should probably do when this gets wide is we should try to align all of the items to the center and get a little bit of balance going on in there. You know what I'm saying? And so now look at this. I mean, I now have a very simple like adjustment where I now have this thing. I can literally use that almost like that. I might want to adjust the height of this. Maybe I want this thing to have a max height. Can we do that? Now, this is hard. This is objectively, this is a little bit harder to do, okay? I'm going to target the feature card. Actually, I think I can do this with stimming. Only in Etch, though. Can't do that anywhere else. That does not work in vanilla CSS. It does work in Etch, because Etch is great. But now what I can do, let's try, ooh, block size. Oh, you know, actually, hold on. Block size 80. I mean, object fit cover. I think it's gonna crop it though. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. Can't just change the height. You could do the inline size. And that's of that. Okay, I'm just thinking about how we can, first of all, I wanna see, yeah, I feel like, this doesn't do anything down here. Yeah, okay, 60% is not gonna be a good, check this out though. Okay, but that gets too big. So now I can say, I wanna go, maybe, I'm just playing around. 60 CQW. What if we put a limiter on it? And then what if we, justify, I don't think I can justify self anymore. I can margin inline auto, margin inline start auto. Holy smokes. It's just a matter of you just look at it and kind of, all right, how do I finagle it a little bit more? Just a little bit in this direction, a little bit in that direction. I'm doing it all inside of that container query, so nothing outside of that container query is being affected. You guys see what I did there? You see, remember we talked about min functions earlier? I'm combining techniques. I'm combining a container query with a min function to make this thing intrinsically responsive so it doesn't need another query, you know? I'm keeping it as compact as I can possibly try to keep it. And suddenly I have a usable card that doesn't just blow up when it's put into a wide space. Now you're probably looking at me do this with the canvas thinking, Kevin, you just should have done all that with a media query. It would have worked the exact same way. You're doing this thing with the canvas. Yeah, you're right, okay? But what if we put it in a grid? So let's go grid 2. Well. We're gonna start to see that, hey, if I start to shrink these things, some of them, they're gonna change, but others probably aren't gonna change, okay? What kind of grid do we actually need here? And how many items do we need? Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 5 items, and we're gonna have to create a little custom grid here. So I'm gonna say display grid, and I'm gonna say grid template columns. If you need 5 items and you need 2 to be halfway and the others to just be 3, you wanna know the trick? 1, 2, 3, double it, okay? Tends to work, right? So I can go 2, 4, 6, 3, and 3, 6, right? So I have 3 top columns, but 2 that need to span to the middle. I just go 6. And I'm gonna use grid area as well, okay? And actually, I don't need to write any of that. I can go grid 6, and it'll just write the grid 6 for me. I'm gonna go grid template areas. If you haven't seen this before, because we're gonna have to do some spans, and I'll just give you a tip, okay? I've come to find this out. I've done both in a lot of situations, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm not a fan of the spans so much. I much prefer grid template areas. Much prefer grid template areas, okay? Watch how we're gonna do this. So we're gonna go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. That's gonna be row number 1, okay? And you can multi-line this, by the way. We're gonna go 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. I think that's gonna get us done. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come down here and we're gonna select all these children right here, okay? Just select all direct children, and we're gonna say grid area, or I'm sorry, no, we don't wanna do this. That would be if you're doing spans. We wanna do inth child of 1, because we're only ever gonna have 5. This is some crazy, some little bento specialized grid. If you look at how they did it the total, just like straight up framer Elementor way. They put one physical row and another physical row, and they just made the 2 rows have different grids. And that's absolutely, don't do that. Don't ever do that. That's just, you will get fired if you do that. Like if an agency hires you and you do that, they should fire you. Because now I can't use loops. You can't use loops, and they broke your ability to use loops and dynamic data. You gotta have one thing. It's one grid of things. It's one list. It's not, and they didn't even do semantic lists. Not even a semantic list. It's just all divs. It's just all dumbassery right here. Look at this. Just all, no, look at this. I mean, it just keeps going and going and go. Like, good luck. Good luck debugging what might be going wrong on a site like this. But anyway, we can actually, this is gonna be one line essentially, grid area, okay, 1. So I've assigned it to grid area 1. Now I take that and I go 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. You're gonna see what this does for me, where I no longer have to manage spans. Even when I change it, no longer have to manage spans, okay? 4 and 5. Okay? Now I might have broken something here. We're gonna have to figure this out. 4, 5. Okay, I don't know if I typoed something or what. Grid area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Did I only have 3 list items? That would be the problem. Okay. You have to have 5 items if you want to place 5 items, it turns out. And oh my word, look at the magic. Look at the magic of container queries. No modifier classes, no shenanigans, no needing to know there's a wide variant. Did you even know there was a wide variant? I don't need to know. It's just going to do wide variants. If there's the available space, it's just going to do them. That's all it's going to do. I could, again, take this same card. Okay, let's duplicate it so you know it actually exists. Okay, here it is right here. Look at it. It no longer has any space, so it's going to stack on top of itself. I could take this. Let's collapse everything. Unfold this. Okay, I got to do all these manually. Okay, let's take that out of here. Let's put it there. Look. So now that now keep in mind, it's a list item. I should probably change that to div. Okay, look at that. Like it's going full width across the page up here without breaking. It doesn't matter where you put them. It doesn't matter what device you view them on. They're always going to look good at all times, except for here. They can't get squished too much. We got to make our grid responsive. And there's no way to fix that other than, because that's not a responsive grid is the problem, right? So we're gonna have to do breakpoints or container queries for our grid. Now, I'm gonna do media queries because we haven't done them yet. You could do either one. We talked about this earlier. You could do either one, okay? Where are we at here? Save, let's go refresh. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about our responsive grid. Let's say we come to the decision, Kevin, we are never gonna put that grid anywhere else, I promise, okay? Scout's honor. We're not gonna put that grid anywhere else, Kevin. Okay, all right. Then I'm just gonna use media queries. We're gonna just do it the dumb way. We're gonna use media queries to scale this down. So we're gonna start coming in and we're gonna start looking. Now, do I go to a Excel breakpoint, L break pointer, M break pointer. Do I do a static 768? What do I do? None of that. How about none of that? How about none of that? Because none of that means anything. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That is a dinosaur workflow, okay? What I do is I take my responsive canvas and I go, doesn't look at all good right there. Doesn't look at all. So 1035, do you have a breakpoint for 1035? Probably not. Do you need one? Nope. Just put deal with this one thing on the page. Don't care about anything else. Deal with this one thing right here. Where does this look good or not look good? It does not look good at 1035, 40, whatever we want to choose. I'll do 1041 just to spite the preset people, okay? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go add media query. And look, it's going to add it at 1041. Now, the big problem with CSS, with media queries and container queries in CSS, is that you cannot tokenize them. You cannot use a variable right here. I really wish you could. Well, you would take away the toRem function, right? I wish you could do this, okay? Something like that, whatever. I wish you could do that. You cannot do it, which is another reason why you shouldn't use static media queries, okay? Because they're static anyway. You can't even tokenize them. Now in Etch, you will be able to tokenize them, and it will be insanely helpful. Very, very soon, you'll be able to tokenize. It'll be the first environment that I know of where you can tokenize media queries other than Sass, right? Because you can tokenize in Sass, but Sass requires a preprocessor and it's a bunch of baggage and a bunch of other stuff going on that we don't want, okay? We're gonna be able to do this without Sass in Etch. But here we go, 1041. So what needs to happen at 1041? Well, we need to take our grid instructions, our columns and our area, and we just need to change those. And so we're gonna say, I've got 5. It's never really gonna make sense to go down to 2 or 4 because I'm always gonna have an orphan, right? That's not good. I don't want it, so we're gonna have to go to 1 here. Okay, so I'm gonna change it to 1, and then I'm just going to change my areas by going 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you'd have done spans, 5, if you had done spans, this would be a nightmare. Redoing the spans and all this, like to target all these things again and change their spans. Remember, I just assign them to an area, and then I control what happens to the areas, and that's it. I'm done, okay? And the container queries have rescued me. See, the card is already built with container queries. So when I went to 1 column on a wide layout like this, a normal card would have broken because we didn't account for this media query right here. But the container queries don't care about the device size. They just said, oh, look, I now have more space. Let me be wide for a minute. And they'll literally go from being tall to being wide to back to being tall again, just based on their available space. And suddenly I've done the entire thing with a combination of techniques, right? So I use container queries for the card so the card can live anywhere. I use media queries for the grid because it's only gonna live here. And I use intrinsic responsiveness for the padding, for the text size, the heading size, the text size. The image size, I use another intrinsically responsive technique called min. See how we're putting these together? Yeah, you could do that, Andre, with this one, but if you did a more complex grid, I know you know this. You have to do all these combinations of, okay, span, start, span, spans, in, start in there. Oh, gotta go down here, start, span, in here. No. Not with grid areas, none of that nonsense. Way easier. So do we have any questions? Are we still confused at all about where to use what and how to like actually approach thinking about it? I'm gonna do while questions come in, we'll do the hero section intro thing. So I'm gonna add another section here and I'll drag that up here. We're gonna call this hero section. Do I already have a hero section going on in this sandbox? Yeah, I'm just gonna delete that real quick. Okay, so we'll start fresh. Hero section, section intro, and then I'm gonna do another container, and that's gonna be the media wrapper, okay? We'll see if we get to the media. The media is not that important. What we wanna do is the section intro right here. And now we're gonna see where we can start to bring in component-based stuff for this, right? Like these cards obviously should be components, okay? But we'll do that as an example up here. And so let's get in what we need first, okay? We need a heading, text, and we need a button. All right, so we're gonna go heading, text, and a button. And we'll just put button primary on here, okay? This is going to be lorem 30. This is going to be section intro. And it's gonna be an H2 by default. We'll handle being able to make it an H1 versus an H2, okay? What I do want to is I wanna come down here and also see this. Okay, this changes the game, guys. This changes the game right here. And I'm glad to see this, Lizzie, okay? That's the whole point of these streams. The whole point of these streams is to open up new worlds. And yeah. Yeah, we could have done 2-2-1, Donatus. We could have. We could go back and do 2-2-1 if you want to do 2-2-1 on that grid. We can, for sure. It's a good, we definitely could have done that. Definitely could have done that. In fact, you know what, Donata? I'm just going to do it for you. I'm just going to do it for you. We should have done that. It's what we should have done. We might want to do it, okay? So at 1041, I actually want to do it at 1041. Okay, so it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Right? Seems like that should be how it is done. Look at this. Look at this, Donata. Just for you, Donata. Look how easy that was, Donata. I didn't even have to look at it while I was doing it. Now you just decide, okay, well now, where are we at? Maybe there, not looking, we're getting a little out of control here, I would say. Maybe right there. We'll cut it off right there. Okay, now what do? We inject another media query, add media query. We take these instructions right here, pop those in, and now we go the same one we were doing earlier. Okay, it's easier to type them. 2, 3, 4, 5. Get that back down here. Look where we're at. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Just for you, Donata. Just for you. Okay? All right, let's get back to our intro up here. All right, so we've got our heading, we've got our lead, we've got our CTA, we've got our media wrapper, we've got our media. Okay, and we're just gonna right-click, create BEM classes. Okay, fantastic. Now, this section intro, actually, I'm sorry, shouldn't have done that. I mean, you can, but nah, let's not do that. Let's take those off there. Because remember, this is its own thing. This is its own block. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna right-click, create BEM classes on this. So it's section intro heading and lead and CTA. But here's the thing. I got ahead of myself because I was talking about this thing right here. This is actually, should be the heading for this section. Just like down here, that should be the heading for this section because that is the semantically accurate topical label for the section. So it should be the heading. Now, I bet you it's not. I bet you it's not. Because people who use Framer don't know what they're doing. So, paragraph. Exactly my point. They made this the H2. Okay, I mean, not great. Unless you're going to go very semantic with these. I guess you could get away with it, right? But it's not really the clearest heading. See, this is way clearer. Features. Oh, we're going to talk about features. Integrations. Oh, we're going to talk about integrations. How it works. Oh, we're going to talk about how it works. These are the headings. These are the headings. For accessibility purposes, these are the headings. Looks like I already had a section intro heading class. Do I already have section intros on here? Let's start over. Section. Oh, yeah. easy to get rid of. No harm, no foul. Okay, so we're gonna go section intro. I need to redo this, but I'm gonna put in the actual heading, and I'm gonna put in another one, which is a paragraph for headline. And I'm gonna move that up to be right under the heading. So we have heading and we have headline. This is for SEO and accessibility. This is for marketing. SEO and accessibility, marketing, okay? Then we have a lead, and then we have a CTA. Fantastic. So I'm gonna right click, create BEM classes. Now, my heading right here, I'm gonna go font weight is text font weight, okay? And I'm gonna go font size is text M, all right? And I'm gonna go, cause actually probably S. I don't think my S is not working for some reason. Something wrong with this setup in ACSS. I gotta debug it. We're gonna go padding 0.5 M, and we're gonna go inline size of max content. And that's gonna make it a little badgy type thing. And we're gonna go border radius. We want a pill. So we're gonna go 50 VW, border of border. And instead of 0.5 M, that's top and bottom, we'll go 1 M side to side. Look at that. We'll go divided by 2 here. Oh, that's actually not, you know what it is? It's gotta be something is winning. Border, var, border, border, var, border. Border, 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 border with 10, ooh, border, okay, yeah, that's correct, that's correct. Transparent, save. I don't know what version of ACSS this, there it is, okay, it's snapping in action now. This is a rando sandbox that I pulled out of here, so work with me, work with me. This is gonna be, font size for right now of H2, okay? And font weight of heading font weight, okay? There you go. So now you see what I've done. The real heading looks like a pill. The fake heading, which is a marketing headline, looks like an actual heading, but semantically it's not, okay? And then we're gonna talk about how to control all of this stuff with props. And then we have a description that's a description, and then we have a call to action that's a call to action, okay? Primary action, save. All right, fantastic. Now, we look at this and we decide the most prominent use case of this, like the default design, is that it's stacked. One thing stacked on top of the other. When we see here in the hero section on mobile, everything stacks, okay? This is the simplest layout. It should be the default layout. That's what it should be. It should be the default. This column thing, side by side, that's complexity. Let's do the simple first, then build the complexity, okay? Don't do complex and then like use a media query or a container query to undo the complexity. Probably not what you wanna do. You wanna do the basics first and then use a query to add whatever complexity is necessary. You saw that's how I did it with the card, right? I started with the stacked version of the card, and then I added a more complex version to it, okay? Typically, that's the best approach. So what I wanna do here, by default, we're gonna align, oh, look, I can center all. Look at these recipes. Look at the recipes. Look at the recipes. Okay, so that's my default right there. Now with my lead, I might want to say like max inline size of 60 characters or something. So that never gets out of control. I mean, boom, bing, bam, boom, bing, bam, boom, we're done. Now let's right click. Let's make this a component called section intro. And let's just put in some toggles first of like, do we want to see a lead? Do we want to see a button? Do we want to see a pill? So I'm going to go Boolean, Boolean, Boolean. Okay. And I'm going to say has pill. Now we're gonna have to have some, some logic is gonna get put in here. Because if we don't have the pill, we don't have a heading. That's a little bit of a problem. But problems are what we're paid to solve, my friends, okay? Problems are what we're paid to solve. Has lead, that's gonna be easy. Has button, has CTA, whatever you wanna call it, okay? Now, let's bing, bam, boom these couple things right here. So CTA, I'm gonna right click, wrapping condition, and I'm gonna say props.has CTA. And now I have a toggle. bang, bang. I'm gonna take the lead, wrapping condition. I'm gonna come down, props.has lead. Now I got a toggle, bang, bang, right? I'm gonna come up to the pill. It's our heading. We're going to right click. I'm thinking about how I wanna do this. Do I wanna use a condition for this? Yes, I think I'm gonna have to. Okay, wrapping condition. We're gonna do props.has pill. Guys, you've never seen conditional logic and props and components easier than this. You've just never seen it. If you're in awe right now, your jaw might be on the floor. Yeah, you should be. You should be. You've never seen it before. I now have this where I can just come in and be like, I don't want a pill. I don't want a lead. I don't want a CTA. I'm left with a heading. Oh, I do want the CTA. No, I don't want the CTA, but I want the lead. I don't want the lead, but I do want the pill. Whatever you want is now at your fingertip. Like, it's just A, bing, bang, boom. You know what I'm saying? Okay, very, very, very simple. Very easy to do. How do we want to handle getting rid of the pill? How do we want to handle that? First of all, we need a drop down for heading level. Let's just solve that. Heading level. And I want the options to be H1 or H2. Can't ever have any other options. You're never going to have a section intro that's an H3. Never, ever, ever, ever. It's never going to happen. So don't make it an option. H1, H2, those are our options, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna come in with this heading. We actually don't need this heading anymore. We need a dynamic element, okay? Which is our heading, okay? So I'm gonna take section intro right here, and I'm gonna put that in. Bang, just like that. And this is section intro heading. Okay, just like that. And now I can get rid of that right there. But now what I have is I have props dot heading level. Okay, props dot heading level. Actually need brackets here. Props dot heading level. Okay. If condition, if has pill. There we go. Section intro. If, oh, and it does help to label these. Has pill. And then you can come down to this condition. This one is for has lead. And this one is for has CTA. So now at a glance, you can read what your conditions are doing. Okay, is that helpful? A little bit of organization goes a long way, right? Okay, so I'm still controlling my pill. My heading level right here can now be set by this. Let's just test that out real quick, okay? So let's go here. Let's refresh. Look here. Okay, I have an H1. Now I'm gonna go get out of here. I'm gonna switch this to H2 and save. I'm gonna refresh and inspect. I now have an H2. So I have a dynamic tag. Dynamic tag. It could be an H1, it could be an H2. Now you might be thinking to yourself, because you might be an intelligent person, and you might be going, Kevin, you're gonna use the H2 way more than the H1. Don't you want the H2 to be the default? You're right. That is a smart thing to think. So I'm just gonna make H2 the default by putting it first in the list. It's automatically now the default. So whenever I use this section intro, it's gonna default to H2, but if I need to default it to H1, I absolutely can, okay? Now, I'm gonna also say, we need this headline right here to change its size even though it's not the H1 or the H2, it needs to look the part. It needs to look the part, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a data attribute. I think this is the best way to do this. We're gonna add a data attribute to this section intro. It needs to be on the actual section intro. Data heading level equals, and I'm gonna say props dot heading level. And now what's gonna happen, let's go to the front end. I'm gonna inspect, let me get out of responsive mode. I'm gonna inspect this section intro right here. And I'm gonna see that it prints the heading level as a data attribute. It prints the selected heading level, okay? And let's make sure that this is saved there. If I change it to H2 and go back to the front, we inspect, we can see, look at that, data heading level equals H2. Now what I can do, I told you, we get paid to solve the problems. We get paid to solve the problems, right? So I'm gonna go in section intro headline is font size var H2. I'm gonna say, you can do this one of two ways. We could go has me. Yeah, the has me selector comes in real handy sometimes, okay? Has me data heading level equals H1, but I don't want to container it, okay? Let's just see if this works. 5 pixel solid red. Let's see, has me, it may not combine with, hold on. Let's think about this for a second. Star has me. Oh, well, hold on. We may not be able to preview it in the builder because wrong heading level. We're previewing H2. Okay. So, yes. Does that go on the in? I don't think it matters, actually. Or maybe it's not doing anything anyway. Let's go find out. But does it change when I change it to H1? It does. Okay, we're good. I mean, I thought conceptually it would work. Looks like it works. Okay, let's go into our headline. Okay, so if the level is H1, guys, font size, make it H1. And we're using a token workflow. Oh, you know what? Hold on. That's dumb. That's not going to work. That's not going to work because that sets the thing on the parent. Let me go to the heading. Headline. Okay. Has pill, headline. Yeah, that's not in conditional logic. Has me data heading level 1. Yeah, that's not going to, that was dumb. Because that's literally setting it, the styles on the parent, right? Okay. Let's just do it from here. We're going to go data heading level equals H1. And then we want to go section intro headline. Font size H1. Boom. I was trying to keep it all contained with the heading, or with the headline, but it is what it is. But check this out. The paragraph that's not even a heading now mimics the change in heading level. It's gorgeous. You love to see it. Okay? Semantically, we're getting the proper output. Accessibility-wise, we're getting the proper output. Visually now, we're getting the proper output. You love to see it. So we've built a section intro that I can now use in every, look at this. We have a section down here that needs an intro. I got you, fam. Let's just pop in a section intro right there. Let's move it ahead of our features list. And let's say we want this to say, we need props for our actual things, okay? So let's go, we need a text prop for our actual headline, headline, lead. We'll just do those for now, okay? So this is going to be heading. This is going to be headline. This is going to be lead. These are all text props. I can go here. Heading is that one. Headline is that one. Oh, nope. See, headline is, I'm dyslexic, bro. This is what, don't become dyslexic. If you can help it, don't do it. Okay. Let's do, that was so backwards. Did you see? My brain was like, for sure I'm clicking the right thing. Wasn't the right thing. Okay. Lorem 30. Okay. This is going to be the, let's try that again. Headline goes here. Okay. Headline. Okay. Lead. Oh, whew. Okay. You just gotta slow it down a notch. Okay. So now I'll get out of here and I'll say, what is this? Features. So our heading is going to be features and our headline is going to be, look at these amazing features. And then I don't want to lead and I don't want an action. You're going to fly through, like we spent some time creating a section intro component that is now going to work for every section on this website. And you're just going to be able to fly every time you get a section. Ooh, pop in an intro, has this, doesn't have this, has this text, whatever, move on with my life, right? Okay. Now we want to build the variant where the things go next to each other, okay? So what we need effectively is we can do this with grid area if we wanted to. We could do this with a wrapper and a normal grid if we wanted to, okay? But we need to figure out, like, I would group these two things together and group these two things together. But I just don't know how all this is gonna work with these different options being exposed. Now, we could say that if we choose the wide variant, it's not allowed to have the pill, okay? It goes to the heading, whatever. Oh, we probably didn't solve the issue of if the pill goes away, what happens to our heading, right? We still need to solve that. These things can get quite complex when you have this thing that needs to be, it's got 5 different variants or 6 different variants or something like that, you know? We could solve that first. I want to solve the grid first because people are probably, you know, wondering how we're going to solve that. So we have the lead going off to the side. We have the button going off to the side. I'm thinking to myself, like, do we want to try grid area for this? Do we want to try grid area for this? I'm almost thinking grid area might be like the best way to go for this, honestly. I'm just wondering if we can work it out, you know, how long it would take to work it out. Okay. How would you do a wide variant? Well, we could do a select, right? We could say style, and we could say, or we could say layout. We could say default, or we could do wide. And I can actually move that to the top. So that essentially when I'm using this, I can say, I want this to be the wide one, or I want this to be the default one. I want it to have a pill, have a lead, whatever, okay? So default layout or wide layout, okay? So now what we're gonna do, let's go back into our section intro. Typically what you wanna do with these styles, where you're gonna pass a globalized kind of style to a component, is you're gonna pass it into a data attribute, okay? So we do data section layout, or just do data layout. You can kind of use generic names for this. We're gonna go props.layout. So that right there just passes the layout into our component as a data attribute. So if I look down here, we can see data heading level equals H2, data layout equals default. Now we're gonna put it as wide. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go out of here. Section intro, put it as wide, okay? Put it as H1 because it is in the hero. We get the H1, and if we look on here, we're gonna get data layout equals wide. And so now we can use that data attribute to change the actual layout. Okay, let's go into here. And one thing that we're trying to solve for right now is how you can preview things like this, right? I'm wondering if it works. I'm just gonna test something real quick where I can kind of manipulate it's not the best like UX, but this is a complex topic. Like it's a complex UX situation that I wanna be able to preview the wide version without exiting the component and choosing that. You know what I'm saying? So let's just do this. Data layout equals wide, border 5 pixel solid red. And if that was default, say, okay, this works for previewing. Now you could have default and wide. And if you wanted to preview, wide, you could literally just put it first. So that like it's previewing whatever comes first, all right? And now I have this data attribute that allows me to start to manipulate this thing, where I can now say, hey, we're gonna display this as a grid actually, and we're gonna do grid template. Actually, I gotta get used to using my shortcuts. Grid 2, just give me a 2-column grid. That's all I want, 2-column grid. And then I want grid template areas. Okay, and we're gonna start blank. We're gonna figure out what we wanna do. And we're just going off the cuff here, just seeing what we can make happen. Headline, lead, headline, CTA. Seems like that's what we want to do. Let me go to headline. I wonder, oh, I don't even know this because I've never done this before. I wonder if you can use grid area. I bet it just ignores it. When it's a flex layout, I bet it just ignores it. I bet it doesn't break anything, but we're gonna wanna check on that. We're gonna wanna check on that. We're gonna wanna check on that. Let's do it right now. I wanna check on that. We're just learning together. We're just learning together. Oh, I got to exit section intro. Oh, yeah, because I chose the wide. Save. This would be wonderful. It just ignores it. It's just like, fuck it. That doesn't matter. It's not a grid layout. We'll just ignore that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That means I can use that and not have to worry about doing that in the data attributes themselves. It's beautiful. Okay. CSS, in a lot of ways, guys, is very forgiving. You know, it is very forgiving. So section intro wide, we're going to display grid. So let's put the wide back as the default so we can see what the hell we're doing. We're going to go to the lead and we're just going to say, hey, this, if we're doing a grid, this needs to live in the area of lead. And this one has to live in the grid area of CTA. Okay. We didn't do anything for the pill, but we can put the pill in the wide version, just like that. Now, all of this center stuff is probably all what's breaking it. Oh, there's going to be some other gritty type stuff that we have to figure out too. Headline, CTA. I'm wondering, CTA lead, headline, CTA. Oh, no. Pill. Not CTA. Okay. What is it? Align content? No. Align, justify content. Justify items. Some of these belong to grid and some of these, there we go. Justify items start. See how that fixed my headline? And then text align left. The problem with these grid areas is going to be the size of these things, the intrinsic size of the cells. I'm sure there's a way. Yeah. It's almost like you would need to do another pill lead situation. But the lead's always going to throw, if the lead is like a certain length, it's always going to throw it off, I think. I don't think there's a way to necessarily make it perfect. So I was going to use grid template areas, and I just don't think it's the right way to go. And this is like you go down these rabbit holes, right? Figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. So I think what we should do is, and this is going to limit the flexibility a little bit, but we probably should use some wrappers. So I'm going to do heading wrapper. Section intro heading wrapper. This would kind of be more the old school way of doing it. We're going to take this condition and just drop it in there. The pill goes in there as well. And then what I'm going to do is the content wrapper. Both of these things need to go in there. So I'm going to wrap in div and say content wrapper. We're just working through this. See if we can get to the solution. Section intro, content wrapper. And I'm going to put that in there as well, but that needs to go above. Perfect. Okay, this is going to have a gap of content gap. It's also going to be flex column. Perfect. This is also going to do the same thing. Flex column. Gap of content gap. That's great there. All these center alls are... I wish they would inherit down. Align item center. This is essentially going to get us back to where we were, but now we can grid 2 Okay, I see what needs to happen. Essentially, we need to take all that centering nonsense and do like this. Section intro, not data layout wide. These also need eyes to make them case insensitive, just in case. Okay. And what are, okay, yes. So align items, let's take that off and let's take that off here. Perfect. Okay. Now you see we're getting to where we need to be. It's really bothering me that font size text S is not working. I've actually never seen that happen. I want to see what's overriding it. What is it just not set? Oh, on this one, I was going back and forth on the S versus SM. I bet this install has SM instead of S. This is a dev copy. This is not, okay. Not gonna be able to fix that right now. Okay, but I know what's causing it. So that's the wide version. Now let's put default back and see what breaks. Okay, perfect. Okay, and not wide, and data layout wide, and data layout equals default. I wonder if I can do that from the, I want to do it from the wrappers. If the parent is default, you know what? You should be able to do, you just can't do it with the ampersand. Section intro, data layout equals default. Me. Seems to work. Okay. Now we can do the align items center. And then I'm just going to take that and paste it right here too. I clearly did not paste or copy the entire thing. Look at this. Okay, so now I exit. This is our hero, and I want to go, yeah, hero, we want this to be wide. Okay, now what if I do no pill? What if I do no CTA? All good. Maybe I want this to be aligned to the bottom, which I think is fine. Let's go, I'm actually going to go into the browser to do this, actually, because it's probably going to be easier. P, justify self, end, align self, end, margin, block start auto. That will work whether there's a pill or not a pill. So I'm just thinking through the different variations of how that would position itself. And I think you can literally just go margin, block start of auto. Another benefit of using gaps, a gap first workflow instead of a margin first workflow, is that you can still use margin autos with the gaps without affecting anything. Let's exit there. Look at that. So now it's always at the bottom. And if there's a pill, we're good. And if there's a CTA, you would never have the CTA in there, I wouldn't think. That would be dumb. It'd be dumb to have the CTA in there. So, I mean, we could leave it as an option, but it would kind of be dumb. Or actually, I'm thinking maybe there's a slightly better way to handle that instead of margin block start auto. Maybe when this is wide, what if we align items? No. Center. It's flex, justify content center. Oh, these justify and aligns and the axes and the, dude, it's Mind numbing. Mind numbing. I'm trying to get this to go. Oh, yeah. Okay. It would be here. And it would be a justify. No. Yeah. The question is, would you want that to happen always? It would kind of need to happen here too. I don't know that that would affect the wide. It doesn't. Doesn't do anything to the wide. Or the tall, I mean. So I'm safe. I'm pretty safe to do that here. Now the lead, I would almost want to say line clamp. Like I almost don't want, actually, I think we can chop with a modifier. Are our docs working yet again? Okay. Fucking Cloudflare killed everything this morning. Let's go to dynamic data. I'm just having fun right now. I'm just playing around. Let's go to dynamic data modifiers, basic modifiers. Truncate words. That's what I want. Truncate words. How many words? 20. Don't allow more than 20 words. Bev is a little too wordy with her intro. We got to cut her off. You know what I'm saying? Okay. 24, 22, 22. Let's do 22 words. We're never going to allow more than 22 words. And then with these buttons, if you don't want the button, and I know the switch is still going to be there, but you could literally say section intro, data layout equals wide, has me. Kill the button. If they go wide with this, we're killing the button. They're not allowed to have a CTA. Look at it. See? Look. It does nothing. But if I switch back to default, the button comes back. Wonderful. All right, so there's my stacked, and then I go, all right, now we want to go wide here. Bang. And I'm truncating text if Bev gets too wordy. I mean, this is great. This is great. So this is we don't want wide to be the default, by the way. So let's go back. X that out. Okay. Now I go down there. All these are good. But now I come up here. I want the wide. These are still stacked. All good. All good. Okay. Also, instead of display none, you can use a condition. No, you can't use a condition because this is the layout wide versus default is pure CSS. It's not, and that's what we're making the decision on. So if you're making the decision off CSS, it's not a prop. It's not a condition. Conditional logic, it's not CSS. Bev will 100% complain that the button is showing up, but you'll be like, Bev, you know, you can't have the button in the wide layout, Bev. Breaks the layout. Doesn't look good, Bev. But I mean, if she makes you have it, you can put it back. It was just a decision I made, you know, in that moment. I was like, I don't want it, you know. I don't think we want it. Christian, you didn't know about case insensitive for attribute selectors? Oh yeah, that's another good little trick. Is there going to be a difference between pro web dev using AI? Okay. Oh, we'll get to questions. Mark Zemansky's like, yeah, but you know, grid has its problems. Grid has its problems. Like, you know, for certain things, it has its problems. I mean, we probably could have got to a working solution. But I felt like I was working against grid instead of just working with a different structure. Let's see. Why not put the pill and heading in a div, headline and lead in another div? And yeah, you got it. It's because I that's actually what I wanted to do first, but then I was like, what about grid areas? Can I make it work? See, you got to go down a rabbit hole. That's how you learn, you know? You got to stretch the limits of like, can we just do it this new way? Maybe this new way works better. What if I unlock something that I've never unlocked before, you know? What about the heading tag when no pill? Great question. Great question. So I think for this, if has pill, we're going to take this headline section into, we're going to need another dynamic element. Section intro headline. Correct. Props dot headline. Is that what it's called? Headline? Yeah, props dot headline. Props dot headline is in the H. Oh wait, no, hold on. That's not the hold on, let me think about this for a second. No, this is okay, hold on. Let's think about this. Heading level H2, H1. That affects the pill. These always feel very inception-y to my brain. This needs to turn into the heading. If no pill is on. Okay, that's what we need. That's what we need. If has pill. Then this is a headline P. See, I just dragged that into that condition. So now both of these things are part of the condition. Because if it has a pill, I want to output like this. And if there's no pill, what I can actually do here is take this. So this whole if right here. Let's think about this. If props has pill. I should be able to duplicate that. Let me know if I'm not thinking about this the right way. I'm going to say no pill. We don't need this because that's the literal pill. This is the heading. Oh, that's what I wanted down here. Section intro heading. But the problem is it looks like it looks like this because it has that class. Okay, let's think about this for a second. Let's kill the no pill thing first. Kill this thing first. Okay. So we have our heading. If it has a pill, let's save. I like to do, let's go step by step so we don't break our brain. And let's go back to default layout. Okay. So now I lose both of those things. And what I would want to replace it with is the headline with a heading tag. Okay. So I need if no pill. I'm not going to duplicate because that confuses my brain. I need an actual heading. But it needs a dynamic tag. So I don't need an actual heading. I need the dynamic element. Okay. This is going to be the heading. Heading / headline. Isn't it? Isn't that what it is? Isn't it the heading / headline? Hello? And if this was an H1 for now, we'll just see it as an H1. Okay? Heading headline. And we're going to wrap this in a condition. And the condition is going to be props dot has pill with an exclamation mark. The exclamation mark means no pill. False. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that element. And remember, we need to use our labels. No pill. Okay, no pill. And then the tag is props.heading level. Heading level, save, exit. Come on, this is why we get paid the big bucks. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And because that's actually done, it's a done deal because our styles for our headings are intrinsic to their size. It's a done deal. We're done. We're done. So we can have a pill, at which point, oh wait, hold on. Did I get the headline part? I didn't do the headline part. This is my marketing headline. My heading. Okay, so we got to map that. Tag is props.heading level. Hello is props.headline. Props.headline. That's what you asked for, right? You wanted the headline, but just as the heading. Looking at chat real quick. If you target the class, it doesn't matter where the element is in the DOM. With inf, it very much matters. Yes, correct. I think it was replying to something else from earlier. Okay. So what we have, and look, all of our others remain untouched. I don't know what that little box is. Did we break something? Let's see if there's an extra, like an empty DOM element in here for some reason. Oh, the content wrapper. Oh, because I went no lead. Let's look at the structure real quick. If has pill, no pill. Yeah, content wrapper. If has lead, if has CTA. We need to wrap this in a condition and say, because you can combine conditions. Props dot has lead or props dot has CTA. We need to show the content wrapper. I think I did that right. Look at that. Look at that. No more empty wrappers. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Now, the benefit of these components, guys, is I can literally build an intro component like this. In fact, I'm going to show you something. Patterns.swp.com. Browse patterns. Introductions. Holy smokes, there's one right there. You can copy these and just paste them in and all the logic, all the everything. Done for you. Done for you. So you don't have, like I showed you how to build it, you know what I'm saying? But if you're lazy and you're like, I don't want to build those things. I just want to be able to clicky. Have someone build it for you then. Copy and paste it in. You can buy libraries of these things, sell libraries of these things, share them out of the goodness of your own little heart, whatever you want to do. But this one has the same kind of logic built into it. You can just copy it and paste it into your Etch install. All the logic, everything comes with it. It's fantastic. And I've got an intro now that I can use all over my site. So right here, I want the wide version. Done with it. Look at this. Gorgeous. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. With the container queries. Oh. All right. I'm going to hashtag Q this. Let's answer some questions and get out of here. I'm streaming too long today. We're going too long. Okay. Just curious if you consider 12-column row grid layouts are standard enough, or if there's interest in using, for example, 16-column row grids. All that is design talk. That's not development talk, really. It's for development, you use the amount you need. Okay, how did we solve that problem of not having a heading when we hide the pill? So we just did that, so that's good. You got the answer to that. Container looks amazing, 100%. It does. It's fantastic. It's magic. It's magic. I believe adding a prefix to my classes is the correct way to do it. This is why I always know which ones I made. Why don't you teach that? Don't you think it's important, especially for debugging? I believe adding a prefix to my class. Okay, is the correct? No, I'm not a fan of prefixes. I don't like prefixes. I really find prefixes to be annoying. What use cases for auto grid and what use cases for variable grid in your expertise? Well, if you're doing a simple grid and you don't care about orphans, if orphans are not a thing for you. So let me go to pages. Let me go to new page, create, go to it. There we are. So if I'm just going to whip up a grid of images, for example, and I decide, or actually, maybe, no, not simple card. What's the card we just did? We did, oh, I never made that card. I never made that card a thing. Okay, so let's put in, I don't even know what simple card looks like. Okay, very simple card. So let's say I did a bunch of these, 3, 4, 5, and I wanted to do a grid of them, okay? Simple cards. And I wanted to come in here and say simple cards. And I wanted to do just variable grid, okay? So you can see right off the bat, I get essentially as many will fit based on the minimum size. So I don't care about how many columns there are. I just care that they look good. And I just care that they're in a grid layout. And what I want to do is I want to dial in, okay, like when do they, so you can see it's already handling itself pretty good. But I can dial in with variable grid. I can say, you know what? All right, I want it to be 550 in this case, which will give me 2. And then it'll manage itself from there down to 1. So when the items inside get to 550, okay, or thereabouts, they will stack. And then if I went back to the grid here and I said, nah, let's go 450. Okay, well, they'll go a little further then. And then they'll stack. Or you could say 250. Now they'll get really squished. And now there'll be 4 of them. It'll fill itself up, you know? And there's a lot of situations where this is very, very helpful. For example, what if you are querying items into a grid and you don't know how many there are going to be? And sometimes there are as few as 1. So check this out. When there's 1, it'll just take up all the available space. And if you use a container query like we did before, that'll actually be very fantastic for you. But the minute there's a second one, they will start to make a grid for themselves. And the minute there's another one, they'll just keep filling the grid. And the minute there's another one, it'll just start new rows because you gave it a minimum instruction. You said, hey, fill this grid up, but an item can never be less than 350 pixels. That's essentially what a variable grid does. Very flexible, very handy, just depends on the situation, right? Depends on the situation. Now an auto grid, you have the ability to go, I absolutely want there to be 2 at all times, but I want you to handle it from there. So it'll automatically go down to 1. And you can still set a minimum, right? You can't set a minimum like fixed size, but you can control the aggressiveness of how far it will compress before it goes. So it's just a kind of a different layer of control. But here's, I have the advantage of specifically saying how many columns we're starting with, right? Now the behavior still is it will fill, kind of like variable grid. It will still fill. But the advantage here too is you can come in here and say fill and force it to behave like a normal grid. So if there's only 1, it'll still put it in a cell like there should be others. And you can actually, decide between those 2 depending on how you deploy the auto grid. So very flexible, again, right? It's going to automatically handle all the responsiveness. Fantastic. But you do have the side of having orphans. Now you're going to ask me, well, Kevin, can't you take the orphan and span it all the way across? If this was a manual instance of this grid, you could, but there's no programmatic way to do it with CSS Grid. You can programmatically do it with Flexbox. That's why in automatic CSS, we have something called Flex Grid. Do I have a Flex Grid recipe? Not yet. I got to map it in. Not yet. But I do have, I don't even know if they're in this install. Yeah, they're not in this install. But I do have utility class. But they're going to be recipes very soon because doing it with classes is, it should be a BEM approach. It should be a BEM approach. So you'll be able to do Flex Grid and expand that out. And then you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get to set a fixed number of columns, but it won't be automatically responsive. That's the only thing. You're going to have to use some breakpoints to manage the responsiveness. Development is always about pros and cons and trade-offs. That's what it is. Like there is no, oh my God, this is the master grid. It works in every situation. It's perfectly automatically. No, see, that doesn't happen. You got to analyze the situation and go, okay, for this situation, auto grid's going to be the best bet. For this situation, variable grid's going to be the best bet. For this situation, I'm going to go grid areas. For this situation, I'm going to do wrappers and just use flex. I'm going to literally, that's why you get paid. You get paid to know what all the options are and choose the best ones for each situation. Because there is no one size fits all solution to this stuff. I think there's 3 questions left and then we'll be done. I got to skip a couple of these questions. Why don't ACSS headings change size according to the container's width? Wouldn't that be better than per breakpoint? Well, ACSS headings don't change size according to breakpoints. They're fluidly responsive based on the content width of the website. And no, I explained earlier, you do not want your headings to change size based on the container because you'll have a lot of different size headings based on different container sizes. There'll be no consistency in your headings. Frames does not use a prefix. Frames uses generic class names like Hero Alpha, Hero Bravo, Hero Charlie. It does not use, there's no like FR Hero. We didn't do that. What else? Any good questions here? Okay. One of the questions was, why do you pay so much attention to the nitwits? But I told you it's because they can't be allowed to just have free reign over people's minds, because people do see this stuff on Twitter. And if that's the only thing they ever see, they're going to believe it. They're going to think like, and now you got a whole tribe of people just believing the wrong nonsense. And to me, the problem would get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Any news when Etch PP101 is dropping? Just finished the regular PP101, fire hose, but awesome. January. Okay, I guess that's all for today. This was a nice stream. Oh, I love this though. Let's close with this. I began playing with Etch a few weeks ago, and now I hate returning to other builders that use breakpoints and hidden CSS and, of course, a bunch of other nonsense. Yeah. You can't. I that's the thing, man. If you use Etch for a project or two, it's just, you can't go back. You can't go back. It's too phenomenally better. Like, you can't go back. All right. Appreciate you guys. Sorry for my negativity in the beginning. I'm just saying, it's hard. It's hard to be positive. Some of these people. But you are learning a lot here. Oh, by the way, I will give you a heads up before we get out of here. I'm going back to weekly. WDD Live is coming back to the weekly format, but I won't be here next week. I'll be on a cruise. I'll be lounging, absolutely lounging, simple little drink, hitting the pool, getting a couple nice stops. It's going to be good. But barring holiday week stuff, I will be back to weekly. So you'll have more of me, more rants, more learning, more stuff to do. Okay? Love you guys. Peace.